By the third game, they put me on the varsity as a 17-year-old, 217-pound freshman, and that's where I met Kyle Whittingham, and Kyle Whittingham was a couple years ahead of me, middle linebacker, and he introduced me to the flavor of dirt. Because I went out there and I thought, I'm going to chop him down, man. And so I'd fire off the ball and I'd go right for, to cut him down as he flowed to the ball. And before I could ever get to Kyle, he would smash me into the ground. He just smashed me in the back of the head. Boom, I'd bounce on the ground, get up and say, how did that happen?
Fredette for the lead. Yes! Fredette with the three. Bullseye! What a shot by Fredette!
Time. The boy gave us more trays than
he's got his J back, folks, and the eye of the tiger.
This is From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette.
Into the new year we go. I am Spencer Linton. He is Jimmer Fredette, and this is From the Logo. Great to have you with us for our deep range conversations about life inside and beyond the world of sports. Jimmer, how are things in the new year, my guy?
Christmas, the New Year, was all great. I mean, we always go up to the mountains, good old Denver, Colorado. Do they have better mountains than Utah? I don't know. We'll have to debate that one of these days. But it was great, except for the fact there's not a whole lot of snow up there. It barely has snowed at all here in Colorado. So we went up to Frisco. We skied one day at Breckenridge. I got in there with the greens. Of course, I'm not a very good skier at this point, but was there with my son Taft, and he was crushing it. He was doing better than I was. So we had a great time there. We did a little snowmobiling up Vail Pass and got some great food in Frisco and in Silverthorne and Breckenridge and all these great mountain towns during this time. So we rang in the new year with a little fondue, and we only go to 10 o'clock Mountain time because it's 12 Eastern, and that's basically the same thing as staying up to 12 o'clock here. So we watch the ball drop on the East Coast time, then we go to bed. It was great.
Oh, okay. So you are not a true midnight guy in the Mountain time zone. You're happy to watch the ball drop in real time in New York, and you call it good.
Absolutely. Especially now. Back in the day, I would have stayed up until midnight. Now, absolutely not. I'm going to sleep. But it was great.
I thought that we were going to do that in my family. I was calling a women's college basketball game that night for ESPN, and my wife said, can you be home by 10 p.m. Mountain time, midnight Eastern, so that we can just celebrate with the New York time? And I looked at my clock, and it's like, I don't know, I've got like 40 minutes, and it's like a 37-minute drive from Provo to my house. I thought, okay, so I'm flying home.
You make that easy. Come on, Spence. You made it there in 30 minutes.
Yeah, pull in. I got 5 minutes. We're good. And then walk inside, and she's like, yeah, I decided we're just going to wait until midnight. Like, what? What?
You got another 2 hours, Spence.
What?
Another 2 hours. Hey, you were amped from the game. You're fine. You're fine.
That's true. I was fine. Nice. I was a little worried about my kids, however, but they definitely were amped to be able to stay up a couple of hours later. Yeah. Anyway, good to ring in the new year. And I need to give you some props for posting your New Year's recap video for the podcast from the actual snowmobile tracks or ski slopes or whatever it was. I appreciated that you were willing to do that literally from the mountain on the snow.
You don't see Beanie Jimmer often, but he came out and he was there in full effect. It was freezing up there, not a ton of snow, but it was still freezing. And we had to show our 2025 moments, of course, whether we are in the mountains or anywhere else. And we had a great post. It was a lot of fun.
Dedication to the craft. We're almost 20 episodes into this podcast. I can't believe it. And our purpose remains the same: to uplift, educate, and entertain with an array of topics, often centered on moments and experiences and decisions that have shaped our lives and our MVP guests' lives. So with that backdrop again in play, Jimmer, what has you most excited about our 2026 season that approaches in this podcast?
We already have some great guests lined up. I'm excited for just, continuing to see the audience, inspire us to do better. It's awesome. We have such great engagement on our socials, on our YouTubes, subscribers going up. Everything is awesome. It's on a great trajectory. And I'm just having a blast doing it. I'm having fun just talking with amazing people that have great stories that are teaching me a lot about life and about their story and about faith and about all the different things. And we're having a lot of fun doing it. So, I mean, I'm just looking forward to more laughs, more fun times with my guy Spence and the whole team with Brett and Hema in the background doing all the great stuff with producing and socials. We got a great team here, and it's exciting because 2026 is going to be a big year for us.
Hey, listen, I'm not going to reveal specific names right now, but I am going to point out that we are aggressive in the guests that we want to bring to this show, including one of the biggest, most fun personalities in the NFL who's going to join us shortly. And we're pushing into what Michigan football might look like a little bit, Jimmer. So read into that how you will. The guests are forthcoming in a major way. Okay, with that said, we're ready for our opening tip-off and our starting lineup today. It begins with a 17-time Emmy winner and broadcaster from ESPN, a national champion, a 12-year NFL veteran. Trevor Matich is our guest today, Jimmer.
Man, I did not know he had 17 Emmys. Like, that is big time stuff. I know he's great at what he does. He is super entertaining. He's obviously great with X's and O's. He's a super smart guy. He's a BYU guy. He loves BYU. But 17 Emmys is amazing. Spence,
that's wild.
You got to get there someday. 17 Emmys. That's the goal. Let's get there. Come on.
I just want one. Can I get one?
Forget one. You'll get one. Get 17. Let's go.
All right. Set the bar high. No problem. Maybe that's part of the New Year's resolutions, which is part of our topic today. What are Jimmer's New Year's resolutions? What are mine? Are they even a good thing? And Trevor's going to tell us the perfect college football playoff format. Cannot wait to get into that with him. So let's do this. The early tray is here. 3 top-of-mind subjects to set the pace of this conversation. Jimmer, are you ready to shoot once again?
Let's go. First shot of 2026. It's going in.
Let's begin with the New Year's resolutions. First and foremost, what are your resolutions as you push into 2026?
Man, I have a lot of different resolutions. I'm a big resolutions guy. Okay. I know that there are some people out there that do not like resolutions, that they're like, you should be making resolutions all the time. You should setting goals all the time. And that's fair. And I understand that. But I mean, it's a new year. You got to reset. You got to reflect on what was going on in 2025 and see if you can do something better in 2026. I mean, that's the whole point of the resolution. So I love it. I think it's important. I've written down quite a few resolutions. A lot of them I will not reach. That's, how it works. I mean, but I'm going to strive for them and try to get to them the best so we can. Obviously I want to grow this podcast. That's one of my first and biggest resolutions this year, is to make sure that we grow this podcast as big as we can, have the biggest reach that we can do it, just have a fun time doing so. Obviously I have work goals and, goals that have faith. One of the things I want to do better this year is, we're going through the Old Testament this year for our Come Follow Me in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. We always have a little kind of curriculum that we go through. This year it's the Old Testament, and I want to understand the Old Testament better. So that's something that I want to do this year, which is going to be awesome. I want to continue to be a better father and a better husband. Obviously in 2026, Connor Mantz has really inspired me. I don't know if anyone listened to that episode. Obviously that was a while back, but he is an incredible marathon runner. I want to run a half marathon this year, Spence. Really? I want to run a half marathon, and I want to run it in under a minute or an hour and 50 minutes. That's my goal. If I can get it in under an hour and 50 minutes for my half marathon for my first time, I will be super happy about that. So those are some of my New Year's resolutions. I have a bunch of other ones, but I'm running a half marathon. I'm doing a great job with it. I'm telling you.
In under an hour and 50 minutes?
Yes. You heard it here first, Spence. You heard it here first. It is out there right now. Everyone has heard it. That is what's going to happen, and I'm holding myself to it.
Holy cow. Okay, just out of curiosity, when do you want to run this marathon? Like, how much time
half
are you
marathon,
giving
not
yourself?
marathon.
Okay, sorry, yeah,
remember.
Half marathon. How much time are you giving yourself to run a little over 13 miles in an hour and 50 minutes or less?
Well, usually they don't start until, spring,
Yeah.
summer, fall. You know what I mean? So I got to find the perfect one because, I'm training at altitude right now. I'm in Colorado. So that is an advantage. So I'm not going to run the marathon or half marathon probably in Colorado. Like I'm going to Arizona. I'm going to San Diego. I'm going to somewhere that is flat and that is sea level. So I have a huge advantage. Like that's the goal. And I'm gonna go and I'm gonna absolutely crush this thing. And but I'm preparing for it now. I'm running 5-6 miles right now. I know obviously I got to get up to 8 to 10. But I'm taking it slow. There's no need to rush into it right now. I don't need to overtrain at this point in my life. But I'm gonna get there, and I'm gonna report back once it happens.
Yo, that is ambitious. Are you going to be one of those guys when you do run the half marathon that puts the 13.1 sticker on the back of their vehicle?
Maybe this is frowned upon, but maybe I'll get it tattooed on my neck or something, right? Like, I don't know. Something's going up. I don't know what it is. I'm getting a plaque. It's going behind me. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. All things are fair game right now.
One of the best stickers I've ever seen on a car is a play off of a marathon, because you'll see people that, put the 26.2 or the 13.1 and, respect, tip of the cap. That's an incredible feat. And those are diehards. But I saw a sticker that said 0.26.
Grace.
I laughed for like
Phenomenal.
3 minutes.
That is awesome. That's my wife, Whitney. She's like, I do not want to run. She's like, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I am good. 0.26 miles. I am great.
I could probably do a 2.62 sticker right now. Yeah, I need to up my game in terms of the length of the race, but hey, that's a really cool New Year's resolution, man. I'm excited to follow up on that. Good luck.
Thank you. I don't disappoint on the pod. I don't disappoint.
Never. Okay. I have a few New Year's resolutions, and I'll summarize here. Number one, and I think I share this with probably most adults of young children in the world, and that is to find a way to be disciplined enough to go to bed earlier and get up earlier. That is like one of my most significant challenges in life, because
not easy.
Once you finally succeed, like it feels like a legitimate achievement when your kids are all in bed every night. Like you have accomplished something. Like you did it.
You absolutely did it.
And you have a quiet moment with your wife to watch a show for a second, or I don't know, just talk and catch up on the day. But typically that means you're pushing late into the night. So I got to find the balance there. How do I get more sleep, but not push away opportunity to enjoy the hard-earned respite that you get at the end of the night as a parent of young kids? I know that you probably in some way battle with that as well.
100% battle with it every night. I'll battle with it here in the next hour and a half, whatever, these guys go to bed. It's a battle every night. Most of the time they're pretty good. They're pretty good sleepers, which is nice.
Yes.
But they always somehow find a little spurt of energy right before they get into bed. And I don't know what it is. All of a sudden my son Taft will be somersaulting into the bed, like flipping into the bed and off to the other side, and then being like, all right, I'm ready to go. Oh, Dad, watch this. And then he jumps off of the dresser and onto the bed. And I'm like, what happened? You were just about to fall asleep on the couch. And now we're, back into it. So I get you.
Yeah, you tell him to get up and clean something up. I'm too tired. I can't. I'm so tired. And then that happens, right?
Yep,
yeah, that is my 7-year-old sailor. No doubt about it. Like 2 minutes ago, you were crying that you couldn't walk 2 steps, so I had to carry you up the stairs. And now it's 720s in your room spinning onto the bed. Yeah, no, I feel that to the core.
All too real.
Okay, now this is a good segue into my next resolution. And this one is partially stolen from my wife, Brittany. I loved it so much when she brought it up. And that is to try and let little frustrations with kids slide. And that is tough, right? Sometimes you're in it, you're tired, you've had a long day, and you just want your kids to do what they're told when you tell them to do it. But they'll be kids. So to take a deep breath, because guess what? And you're hearing it ad nauseum too, Jimmer, as I am, with parents of kids that have now grown up and moved out of the house. They pine and long for those days of messes in the room and noisy screams and shrills and giggles and it's late. Like they want that in their home. And so I'm really trying to just take a breath, step back and let little things slide, because my youngest is now 5 and I can't believe it. And I'm already find myself with my wife watching videos of our kids when they were, 1 and 2 years old and thinking, oh my gosh, like we're not going to have another little baby. And it's kind of depressing. So I'm trying to maximize those moments and just let little things slide.
Yeah, as you should. And I was sitting there for my bathroom the other day. We have a window out there, and you're just looking down, watching them at the tramp. All 3 of them just smiling as loud as they could, and just having a great time. I'm like, it's not going to be forever. So definitely cherish those moments. I love it.
That is happiness. Watching your kids have fun like that. That for me is like happiness, really in a nutshell. And then I'm trying to get into audiobooks, dude. I'm trying to maximize my commute in my car. I need audiobooks, right? I need to be educated and uplifted in my car.
No, I mean, you don't. I'll tell you what, I've tried it. It is hard for me to do that. I'm a podcast guy full and through, or either podcast or music or dead silence. I am not going into an audiobook. I'm just telling you right now, not going into it.
Oh, I appreciate the dramatic zoom there.
You like that?
I like that actually.
Yeah, I was coming right in. I had to show you real close. I don't know. You put your hand like that, and it just zooms in. What am I supposed to do? This camera is unbelievable.
It worked. Right?
It did work.
That was, even though it was unintentional, it felt like it was appropriate. It was appropriate. Listen to me, Spencer. Look into my eyes.
That was really good. That was really good.
Yeah, audiobooks. I guess to close things out, the daily interaction with some type of gospel study is a must. And if you're not careful, you just get inundated with tasks and little things. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like I've not like centered myself with something that ties me to God and Jesus Christ. Like you need that. So I appreciate that from you. And that's a great reminder, but just that daily interaction. Maybe it's in an audiobook, maybe not. Maybe it's in an uplifting podcast. But yeah, those are the goals. Okay, so you're a resolutions guy. I am too. And we need to hold each other accountable with these things at some point down the road, especially with your half marathon.
Yeah. Oh, so you hold me as accountable as you want. It's happening.
Okay. Someone knows where I can find a 0.26 car sticker.
Comment.
Send me the link.
Let it know.
And maybe some good audiobook recommendations.
There you go.
I would appreciate those as well. Okay. Topic number 2. That was a long one, understandably, because it contains a lot within the resolutions. But we are amidst the college football playoff, and we're going to talk to ESPN's Trevor Matich and get his picks on who's going to win each of the semifinal games and then go on to win a national championship, and get his college football playoff format suggestion as well. Like, he's a guy that's so tied into that. But let's have our own conversation about that right now, Jimmer, because once again, for the second straight year in the expanded college football playoff format of 12 teams, we're watching teams that have a bye lose and struggle significantly. I know Vegas said the majority of those teams that were supposed to lose did lose, but still, if you're 1-7 in 8 combined games, and the teams that had a bye have lost 7 of those games and only one team has won, is it time for that to be eliminated? Does the format need to be changed? And do the byes in the opening round need to be dismissed?
In my opinion, yes, it does. And it's interesting because in football, I feel like it's much different even than any other sport, where when in football, it is so physical. Like you're hitting people, right? On a daily when you're playing in the game, it is not something that is finesse. Like in basketball, you can kind of catch your rhythm. When you're hitting people, that takes some time to like get into it. I feel like, you know what I mean? Like I feel like that whole week off where you're not hitting someone and someone had just played in a hard physical game and they have a little bit of momentum and they have a little bit of swagger going into that second game in the playoff, and they're a really good team. They're obviously super pumped up. I feel like that's a huge advantage to go into that game with some momentum and having hit some people, felt it, because they still haven't played for like a couple of weeks before that. It's usually like a 2-week to 3-week layoff for the people that are either in the first round or have the bye. They have like 3 weeks before they're playing. It's already a disadvantage. So I feel like you got to level that playing field and make sure that everyone is playing on the same weekend. Like, I just feel like that has to be the case. Or whatever teams are playing against each other, their first game is against each other on that same weekend. I just feel like it's such a disadvantage to have the bye. And we've seen that over and over again in the playoffs so far.
I don't know how it's not addressed at this point. Let me clarify once again. In the first year of the expanded format in 2024, I know that Oregon, even though they were the number 1 seed and their reward for being the number 1 seed was to take on number 8 Ohio State. That's not a reward. Ohio State was favored in that game and ended up winning that game. It was not great for Oregon. So I have the Vegas lines in my mind. I know that. However, I just think that Oregon would have played a better brand of football. It's not so much that the teams are losing for me. It's how they are losing. Oregon got absolutely boat raced when they were the number 1 seed in 2024. That should never
100%.
be the case. The seeding was messed up. They made an alteration to the seeding, which made it better. But even this year, seeds 2, 3, and 4 all go down.
Yeah.
Indiana's the only team that won after having that first round bye. So just take it to 16 teams. Give every team a first round game. The top 8 seeds get a home site game. After that, it's up for deliberation whether or not you want to have more games at home or if you want to contract all of the bowl games again to take care of the final 8 teams. Fine, whatever. Do what you're going to do, but take it to 16 and let the number 1 team in America face the number 16 team so that they can be playing while the other teams are playing and everyone has the same amount of time off. There's no extended delay. It's tough to go almost 4 full weeks and not play that physical of a game as you were talking about and feel like, oh, we're not rusty, we're up to speed. So that's how I do it. Take it to 16, let every one of the top 8 seeds host a home playoff game in mid-December. And if that means getting rid of conference championship games, so be it. Like, get rid of them. Fine. Like, I don't care. But the month of December on Saturdays should belong to college football still. They should all be playing the majority of the weeks in December and leading up to early January for the national championship game.
Yeah, to your credit, you've been saying this for a while. 16 teams. I think it's the right format. It's the way to go. You're already at 12. Add 4 more, and everyone's on a level playing field. And then we see what happens.
All right, enough college football playoff talk for the moment. We'll have more with Trevor Matich in just a few minutes. Now to some college basketball, which you have an opinion about, or two, Jimmer, because now we're into a scenario where G League guys and European pros are becoming more and more common as they now integrate into college basketball. They haven't signed NBA contracts per se, but they have still been professional players of some type and are now in college basketball. This has caused a huge debate about what is ethical for the game and what is right for the game and how it's impacting potential high school recruits. And you're bringing these old people in to play college basketball and never really recruiting high school kids. Like it's hurting high school kids as part of that narrative. How do you feel about these G League pros and these European pros and the integration of that into our modern version of college basketball?
It's a really, really interesting topic because I don't see it changing. And the way that it's going, I see it only happening a lot more, right? It's within the purview of the rules, right? The Najee that just went to Baylor, right? As an example, he was someone who got drafted in the second round of the NBA, but he never actually officially signed an NBA contract. He played in summer league. He did some things, leading up to it, but he never actually signed an official NBA contract. Went to the G League, played overseas for a little bit, played professionally overseas, and then came back and played because he has eligibility left still in the NCAA. And
Wild.
that is the rule. I mean, right now, that's how it works. So I don't see it change. I don't see it actually, like I said, I think it's only going to happen more. And it's only a matter of time before you see someone who was on an NBA contract trying to get back their eligibility to come and play in NCAA basketball. And so for my thinking, I'm like, man, what do you do at this point? I mean, the cat's already out of the bag. It's already going that direction. How are you going to try to come back from it and say, all right, no, we have to completely change the rules. We have to do something. But I feel like with college basketball, like the NCAA has kind of let it go so much in this direction that it's going to be hard for them to pull it back. So I think it's going to go more in that direction. Honestly, I think that it has to go that way. It's just the way that it's going to continue to go. It's mini professional sports. It is professional sports. I mean, call it the way that it is. And now at this point, like, just let people play and see what happens to the product. It's going to get better. Like, these guys that are coming into play, they're good players. Like, these are good basketball players. You're going to see a little bit of, some of the, what makes college basketball great. You're going to see some of that go away, but you're going to see a really good product because a lot of these players are really good.
Yeah, where my question is, where do you draw the line? We heard Coach Cal at Arkansas go off on an epic rant for about 7 minutes the other night, and started with the following quote: "The rules be the rules," which I thought was hilarious. And I appreciated how passionate he was, but he feels very strongly that if you're drafted into the NBA, you're done. Like, you can't come back and play college basketball at that point. So he wants to draw a clear line there. He also doesn't like the idea of a bunch of these European pros coming into college basketball, and said, how do you know what their school transcript is? Like, are they actually eligible for university? Mm-hmm. Like, what? Why do we have such stringent measures for high school kids getting into these American universities when they are Americans, but the European players, it's like, oh yeah, we'll find a way for you to get into school and get you admitted. Like, why is there no consistency with that? All valid points by him. And then he points out no one's recruiting high school kids anymore, except for basically me and Tom Izzo and maybe a few others. But right, those kids are now having their opportunities taken away by other players in the G League and from Europe coming over and taking their spots. So it is a hard conversation to get into without, feeling like someone is getting hurt, someone is being penalized, and maybe it is high school kids, because we're opening up these parameters and doors to these other players who have not gone to college and gone to the G League or have gone to Europe. So where would you draw the line if you were the commissioner of college basketball?
I think it's if you sign an actual NBA contract.
Okay.
Like, if you actually sign one. Because if you just think about it with other sports. Like, in baseball, people get drafted all the time, and then they go
opt to come back.
They opt to come back. Same with hockey, same with all these other sports, right? Like, that's how it works. The NBA is you get drafted and you don't sign a contract and you opt to come back to play college basketball. Okay, so be it. Like, I think that's the thing. I think it has to be specifically an NBA contract, not overseas, not over in Real Madrid, not another playing. I think NBA contract is where the line is drawn. That's what I think you have to do, because when you get into this, you're paying players now. This is professional sports. Professional sports is a dog-eat-dog world, and someone's going to get left out. And that's what they created, because you can pay players now. So if that's going to be the case, you're going to see people that are not going to be able to play at these universities that generally would be able to, because there's a kid in Europe that's better. There's a kid in G League that is better. Well, guess what? That's professional sports. And it is a hard reality to take, but that's what the floodgates have been opened to. So that's the way it's going to work. And that either you get better and you get ready to go and you get out there and you play and you get prepared. Because if you're a great high school player, AJ was going to go to the NBA or going to go to college no matter what, because he's a great player. But there's going to be some kids that are going to get left out because of this rule, and that's professional sports, but that's what they created.
Yeah, and you just hope that these high school players, if some of their opportunities at these high-level Division I programs are not there or not as readily available, that they still find a way in, because there still is a path where, okay, I'm not going to go to the Power 4 school of my choice, but this high-level G6 squad wants me. I'm going to go and crush it there, and then maybe I can push that into something at a bigger program. That's still available, but it is tough when you're a high school kid thinking like, oh, I have a dream to play at Duke or Kentucky or BYU or wherever it is, any Gonzaga, any top 10 program right now, Kansas. Like, those opportunities are going to be tougher to come by because of what you talked about. It is a dog-eat-dog world because big money is now involved, and that is the reality of where we are. Last thing I want to talk about before we close out the early tray is the transfer situation. It feels like college athletes in the big money sports of football and men's basketball are hired help mercenaries. It feels that way. And there are very little or few parameters to restrict them from bouncing to wherever the next best paying job is. We've got guys that are transferring 5 times before they're done in college basketball, which is just insanity.
Yeah.
And Coach Cal, John Calipari, again, to go back to what he was saying, he talked about how he wants these young men who, most of whom, like less than 1% will go on to play pro, 99% are not playing professionally, that they're not having an opportunity to get a college degree because they're just going for the next highest price to play basketball wherever, and then not all their transcripts are transferring over. They're not going to have enough college credits. He feels like they're being hurt that way. So how would you, I guess, litigate or put in a set of rules to moderate the crazy transfer portal that is in college basketball right now? It's out of control right now.
It's out of control, but again, it's what happens because you have money involved. I mean, it's as simple as that. If you don't have a rule in place because there's money, when there's more money out there for someone, more likely they're going to go and try to take it, or they're going to at least see if they have an opportunity to make more money, or they're going to use it as leverage for their team to make them pay more money so that they have to stay at their team, whatever that is. But it's because of that there is money involved. It's going to be hard to kind of regulate that, in my opinion, from the NCAA, because these kids are going to be like, well, my earning potential is way more than what it used to be. And if I'm locked into this contract, or I'm here because I can't transfer anymore, they're gonna try to go to legal matters of try and be like, hey, my worth is way more at another school. Like, it's a really crazy, interesting situation. I think the biggest fix for it, in my opinion, is just sign longer contracts with buyouts.
Yes.
That's what you need to do. Like, sign a kid for 3 years. Like, if you really like the kid, sign the kid for 3 years and say, if you want to leave, you got to pay back $500,000 or whatever it is for a buyout so that you can go to the other school. And then that kid's going to be like, all right, well, do I really want to give back that money? It has to be a much better situation for me to leave. Those types of things are going to make it so that kids don't transfer as much. Because I don't know if you can go the other way because of the earning potential and the litigation that could come from it. So I think that it's really important to do longer contracts with buyouts. I think that's the solution.
Okay. I really like that idea. I am in favor of you get a one-time transfer, and then after that, there has to be some type of penalty, because guess what? Sometimes kids in high school are going to sign with the coach and they're going to get to that program, and when you get there, it's not what you thought it was going to be. And so it's like, oh man, I signed up for something that is a lot different than I thought it was going to be. So I don't want to punish a kid he gets something that is totally different than he thought he was signing up for. So again, this is in line with Tom Izzo and John Calipari. And like, you get a one-time transfer, like with no penalty. Okay. You get there like, okay, I'm going to transfer once, you're good. But I don't like the idea of guys going from program to program to program to program. Maybe they're less inclined to do so with your rules implemented. Like, there has to be some type of payback with NIL. But I'm telling you what, Jimmer, like I can't get behind the idea of guys playing at 4 different programs in 4 years or 5 and 5. It's too out of control. There are going to be exceptions. Like, let's say your coach gets fired or whatever. Then you get a second transfer because your coach got fired. Fine. But outside of that, like, lock in, earn it. I look back at guys like you earned it at BYU, man.
For sure. My thing is, like, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. I don't think anybody really likes it. I think that maybe the players somewhat like it because of the fact that they can go and make more money in different places, and they have the flexibility to do that. They have a lot of opportunity. They can put a lot of pressure on their coach to make them make decisions that they have to make. If they want to keep them, they got to play them, they got to pay them, right? So I don't like the rule. I just don't know if they're going to be able to implement that rule again. That's my biggest thing is I don't know if they're going to follow to say you only get one transfer. Oh yeah, well, why? Why do I only get one transfer? Like, there's going to be some type of player association probably that's going to come up in college basketball that's going to say, these are my rights. These are what I get to do. Probably has to happen at some point. Then at that point, they can collectively bargain what that's going to look like. And maybe there is a transfer rule under those circumstances. It'll be interesting to see, but it is not happening tomorrow. Let's put it that way. So we are going to see a crazy portal after the season comes up. That's the way it's going to work.
Now, like, to close out, I have to ask you, if you were a player today and you got to BYU, and because you were a guy that was ready to play as a freshman and started to get extended minutes later in your freshman year and into your sophomore season, but if you weren't starting, do you feel like and you were playing in 2025 or 2026, do you feel like you would have stayed based on your personality and what's happening? Or do you feel like you would have gone somewhere where it's like, no, I'm starting now. I want to go somewhere. I'm going to start now.
Yeah. No, based on my personality, I am the guy that's pretty loyal. Like, I just have been. It's hard for me to kind of move off of things. So for me, I'm pretty sure I probably would have stayed. I loved it at BYU. Like, I loved my experience. And I loved the coaching staff. I loved my teammates. It was just felt really comfortable for me. So I would like to believe that I would stay. But, at the same time, who knows? Like, money talks sometimes. You know what I mean? So if there's all of a sudden crazy amount of money out there, I'm not going to, be naive and be like, oh, no, I never would have left because of this. I'm like, who knows? You know what I mean? I don't know what type of money would have been out there, what someone would have been saying to me, all of these different things. But I usually, generally speaking, just my personality in general, I like to stick things out, and I'd like to make sure that I finish things that I start. And I felt like there was a lot of meat on the bone at BYU after my freshman year, where we could have obviously done some great things. And fortunately, I didn't have to make a decision. We were able to go and do those great things. So I like to think that. But like I said, you just never know with all this money out there.
We're still working on that retroactive NIL deal for you, Jimmer. So I'll let you know what my people say.
Yeah, I would appreciate that so much.
Well, speaking of sticking it out for a full 4 years, when we come back after this break, the man, Trevor Matich, who was the center for the national championship winning team at BYU in 1984 and the center for Jim McMahon, Steve Young. Are you kidding me?
It's
Mark
wild.
Wilson, Robbie Bosco.
Yeah.
He was the guy for all 4 of those quarterbacks, and he'll tell you what it meant to him to get a degree and stick it out at BYU, along with the things we've discussed as well, the college football playoff format, and who he picks as his national championship winner. Great stuff ahead with ESPN's Trevor Matich on From the Logo right after this.
If you or your business are looking to reach a wide audience, From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette will help you reach your goals. Whether you're interested in title sponsorship, segment sponsorship, or product placement on the podcast, email us at jimmerftl@gmail.com and let us help you shoot your shot.
From the logo, full speed into the new year, and time for our first VIP guest of the 2026 season. So let's roll out the full court press with a college football national champion, NFL veteran, and 17-time Emmy Award-winning sportscaster and football savant. Ladies and gentlemen, Trevor Matich of ESPN. Trevor, welcome, my friend.
Wow.
Let's go.
I got to ask for a raise now. That was quite an introduction. Thank you.
17 times. That's amazing.
Come on. You deserve a raise for that alone. All right, Trevor, we have to start with your recent peanut M&M X's and O's breakdown of the Ohio State-Miami college football playoff game that went viral on SportsCenter. How did that become a thing?
Okay, so what we did was, on SportsCenter, we used peanut M&Ms, color-coded, to diagram a play, really the critical play in the playoff game between Miami and Ohio State, which was Miami's pick six, 72-yard touchdown against the Buckeyes. And then we showed the tape as to what it looked like. And where that came from was back in the day when we were in the process of winning the national championship. We finished the season 12-0. And every day, and then the Holiday Bowl was coming up. So we win that one, we finished number one. Before every game, because I was the center and I had to do all the protection calls, I would put peanut M&Ms on the bed, color-coded by position, and then move them around to figure out what I would call based on what the peanut M&Ms were, what blitz, what defensive alignment, what weird things, the unexpected things they might do. And then I would eat them all up at the end, and we'd go out and lay waste to our opponent the next day. Well, the SportsCenter producers found out about this because it was in Sports Illustrated. I mean, Sports Illustrated, when we were 12-0, descended on Provo because nobody knew who we were. I think there were like 4% of the nation's TV sets were in our conference at the time. And so everybody was trying to figure out what was going on. They were all looking for angles, and they found out about this peanut M&M thing. So Sports Illustrated did a 6-page article on our offensive line called Beware of the Candyman. And on the front page of that article, it was me and the M&Ms, right? And so it wasn't just about me. I mean, Dave Wright at left tackle, Louis Wong at right tackle were phenomenal. Our guards were incredible. I mean, Fred Garrick at left guard and Robert Anae at right guard was the smart guy of all of this. He's been a brilliant offensive coordinator for many years in college football. And I think he just signed at Utah State to be the offensive coordinator there. And so they talked about all of us and everything that we did, but the hook was the M&Ms. ESPN picked up on it. And we started doing that once in a while to diagram plays, and it was really fun. And at the end of it all, on TV, I did eat the defense.
Oh, of course, you have to. Is that your favorite candy, Trevor? Like, is peanut M&Ms the go-to? So are you like super pumped when you get to eat those?
Peanut M&Ms, Jimmer, are strong. Here's the problem. I've already long since eaten my lifetime supply of peanut M&Ms. So now I just have to imagine what it was like, because I'm trying to get back down to where I started to eat those peanut M&Ms back in the day in the national championship year.
That's so funny. I want to back it up a little bit to start this. How did you end up at BYU? Like, tell us a little bit about the story of how you got recruited and ended up going to BYU. And then obviously we'll get into a little bit more about your time at BYU. But how did you get there?
Jim, I was a classic late bloomer. I mean, when I was a kid growing up in school, you know, in elementary school, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, that kind of a thing, I was the last kid picked at recess for football and basketball and softball and stuff. Sometimes they wouldn't pick me at all. Sometimes we'd choose teams. They'd go play and leave me standing there. A teacher would have to make them let me play, which doesn't build the confidence of an aspiring NFL player, does it? So I tried out for the sixth grade flag football and basketball teams, and they let me be on the teams because they let all the sixth graders be on the teams. They figured that the next year we'd go to junior high, there'd be more competition, it might be our last opportunity. So I was on the team, but I never played. So go to seventh and eighth grade to junior high and tried out for the basketball, baseball teams, got cut both years. Tried out for the flag football teams, was on the team because they had no cuts. I never played, but at least I was on the team. So now I go to freshman year of high school, and I thought, this is my first year of tackle football. This is when I'm going to show them what I can do, right? And so I wanted to play tight end. They made me play center. I should go back and thank them. I was drafted into the NFL as a center, so it worked out okay. But I didn't play in the regular game freshman year. We had a thing called the fifth quarter. This is where they played an extra quarter when the regular 4 quarters were over. The extra quarter didn't count. This is so that the kids that were so bad that they couldn't play in the regular game could play in the fifth quarter. And that was so that the parents wouldn't get mad at the coach for not playing their kid, right? So I played in the fifth quarter. So sophomore year, I was the only center on the JV football team. I played part of the time. Junior year, I got into the first game, and that was it. Never played again. Tried out for the basketball team all 3 years, got cut all 3 years. And so now my senior year rolls around, right? And what should I have done? I mean, if I had any sense, I would have realized that this whole football thing wasn't working out for me, and I would have just enjoyed my senior year without trying out for football. But I would like to tell you that I was a positive thinking guy, but I wasn't. I just didn't do anything else. I didn't know what else to do. So I tried out for the football team, and that year earned a starting position at a school sport for the first time ever. And that year I made all conference, all Sacramento, all Northern California. It was nominated for high school All-American, and I got scholarship offers or scholarship interest from about 60 schools. So that year worked out really well. But it wasn't that year. I mean, all those years leading up to it, I'd go out early to practice. I'd stay late after practice, work on drills. I looked really dumb, but I was doing my best. BYU saw a tall, skinny kid that had good feet. And so they gave me a scholarship based on that basically alone. So it came down to I had 4 teams in what became the Pac-12, and BYU were my recruiting visits. It came down to Cal, Berkeley, or BYU. And the reason I chose BYU was because I figured both places would get me to my football goals. Both places were good academically. But in my recruiting trip to Cal, the players took me around to do things at frat houses that people at frat houses do. And I'm fine with them doing that. It just wasn't what I wanted to spend the next 4 years doing. And BYU was where there were more people that wanted to live a lifestyle that I wanted to live. And so people say that the honor code is it's difficult to recruit to, and I disagree. I think that the honor code is one of the reasons I went to BYU. So I got there, and a lot of stuff happened after I got there, but that's how I got there.
Trevor, looking back on your decision to attend BYU and then what happened in your football career there, how do you feel like that decision changed and impacted your life in the most significant way?
You know what, Spencer, it changed everything, because I was a 17-year-old, 217-pound unguided missile when I showed up. And I was naive beyond belief. And I was then immersed in a culture and a system put together by LaVell Edwards. And I didn't realize the importance of that until many years later. But they guided me and helped me grow up and gave me space to grow up. And I never made the big mistake, right? I was too afraid to make the big mistake. But, I wasn't a knucklehead at all. I just didn't know what to do. I was howdy doody, except less, interesting. And so, so that helped me to grow up, because when I went off into the world, I had tools to be able to handle the big bad world, or at least to be able to continue to develop more tools as time went on. And the whole process of growing up as a player was part of that. I mean, 17 years old, 217-pound freshman. And I started out the first couple games on the JV, and I went to the coaches and asked them what they needed from a backup center on the varsity. And they told me. They gave me drills to do to develop those skills, and I went out early to practice, stayed late at practice, and by the third game, they put me on the varsity as a 17-year-old, 217-pound freshman. And that's where I met Kyle Whittingham. And Kyle Whittingham was a couple years ahead of me, middle linebacker, and he introduced me to the flavor of dirt. Because I went out there and I thought, I'm going to chop him down, man. And so I'd fire him off the ball, and I'd go right for, to cut him down as he flowed to the ball. And before I could ever get to Kyle, he would smash me into the ground. He just smashed me in the back of the head, and boom, I'd bounce on the ground, get up and say, how did that happen? And so I learned a big lesson that in high school, I was a big hotshot my senior year. At BYU freshman year, I was nothing. So I had to grow.
That is amazing story too. And Kyle coaches the way that he played, right? Like that his teams are all just super physical. That's what he loves about football. It's awesome to see that. But I want to know a little bit about Coach Edwards. he is just an incredible human being. Obviously, you know that better than anybody. What lessons did you learn from him specifically that helped you grow as a football player, but also in your life? Because I've heard some amazing stories about Coach Edwards.
Jimmer, he taught me and all of us really the value of respect, I think is the best way to say it. And it was respect of him. He never demanded respect, but he commanded it. And there are coaches that you do what they say because you fear what they'll do if you don't. With LaVell, you did what he said and gave your best because you feared that he would lose respect for you. And you did not want him to lose respect for you. That's a completely different kind of motivation. And I thought, just when you look at some of the great leaders um, that I've ever met, there's all different kinds, and no one kind of leadership is necessarily better than the other. But the way LaVell led was from his character, and you wanted to be a part of the world created by his character. And the thing is, um, I was honored to introduce LaVell at a banquet for yet another honor that he was receiving in Washington, D.C. And they wanted me to talk about the trophies that he won, the championships that he won, and all that. And I did, because that's important. It's hard to win. It's even harder to sustain winning. And I did that. But then I finished that introduction by saying that the real football legacy of LaVell Edwards is not the trophies in the case. It's the man outside the case with his kids, showing them the trophies that he won as part of LaVell Edwards' teams, because that man is the real trophy, the real legacy. He's a better husband and father than he ever would have been had it not been for being mentored by LaVell and Mel Olson and the people, Dick Felt, and all the people that LaVell pulled in to create that environment. And I'll tell you, his wife and his kids had a different life than they ever would have had LaVell Edwards not influenced their dad and their husband. And to me, I look at that as a legacy of a football coach. And you sit back with experience of years now, and you realize what LaVell was doing. And in doing so, in building men, really from boys to men, he also developed undisciplined football players into championship football players. Because first you develop the player as a person, then you'll get the most out of them as an athlete. And so LaVell, so many things that he did along those lines that I didn't understand until many years later.
He's an NFL veteran, a national champion in college football, and an outstanding broadcaster for ESPN. Trevor Matich is on From the Logo. Let's stay with the LaVell questioning here, Trevor. And just when you zoom out and you talk with your compatriots at ESPN and across the college football world and try and help them understand what LaVell meant to college football in general, where does that conversation begin?
That one begins with the national championship. And it kind of ends with the fact that that LaVell didn't go anywhere after the national championship. I mean, the All-American quarterbacks are a big part of it too. I mean, the quarterbacks that I played with on the varsity were, it led Gary Scheide and then others before, and then Gifford Nielsen. I came in and played with Mark Wilson, Jim McMahon, Steve Young, and then Robbie Bosco for the national championship year. And then it went on from there.
That's
right?
incredible.
So people,
Not bad.
yeah, no, it was. I look back at that now, and I'm going, I was the center, right? I wasn't the starter all those years, but I was there on the varsity with those guys, and it was just incredible to be a part of it. But so the All-American quarterbacks are a big part of his legacy, the championships of the national championship. But I think one of the things that old grizzled coaches look to that other people might not is the fact that after LaVell won the national championship, he got offers everywhere. I mean, he could have gone to the SEC, he got NFL offers, and he chose to stay in Provo and make a life. And long-term, raise his kids there in that environment and raise his players there in that environment. And then long after he retired, he still was a part of people's lives. And it's something that I think grizzled coaches understand, because many of them were chasing the next paycheck, chasing the next bigger job, chasing the shinier logo, the bigger TV contracts. And LaVell was like, yeah, that's all really nice, but the grass isn't always greener. And right here where I'm watering the grass, this is amazing. And so I think he set an example that we may see Kalani Sitake follow. A lot of things have to happen in order for that to occur, but he's already been there for 10 years. And having played for LaVell, Coach Satake is doing a lot of the things that LaVell did. And so I think that when I talk to people that are grizzled coaching veterans, grizzled, former athletes and broadcasters and stuff like that, when they talk about LaVell, they talk about him in terms that are different from most other coaches. And it's because of the impact that he had on lives that, all coaches have some impact one degree or another, but LaVell did it in his own way, in a way that impacted people that aren't impressed very easily.
Yeah, I see a lot of parallels, obviously, with Kalani and Coach Edwards, because that was a mentor of his as coach. And obviously, he's trying to model some of the things he's doing after Coach Edwards. It's awesome. And we're so pumped, obviously, as BYU fans, that Coach Kalani stayed and decided to make a life, like you said, here in Utah and in Provo. And super excited about that. But Trevor, what is it like to win a national championship? Something I didn't get to do, and I'm still upset about it, but goodness gracious, what is that feeling like? How is that something that just bonds that team together for the rest of your life?
You know what? The thing is, you described it correctly, because when we get back together, we might not have seen each other for 10 years, right? But we'll get back together and it's like we were never apart because of the brotherhood that is necessary to win that national championship. And then the way that then makes us, it welds us together. It's amazing how that works. I know that when, we played Michigan in the Holiday Bowl, we beat them. And, and that Michigan team that we beat was a good football team. They started the season in the top 5. They beat number 1 Miami. They laid waste to the early part of their schedule. And then they had a bunch of injuries and lost some games. And by the time the Holiday Bowl rolled around, almost every one of those starters were back. I think Jim Harbaugh, the starting quarterback, was the only one that might not have been back. So that was a good team that we played. And it was a fight to beat those guys. But when the clock struck 0, there was a feeling of elation and relief at the same time. Elation that we did it. Relief that we did it. And a realization in that moment that this is forever and no one can take this away from us. And, it was just washing over you after going through the entire off season, then the season, every play, every practice, every rep in every drill, staying focused. And now all that burden of all that focus is lifted and the results are there. And the first people I went to celebrate with, it wasn't the coach and it wasn't the, players on the team or anything that were starting and playing. It was the scout squad, because I went to them to make sure they knew that we knew that they were as much a part of it as anybody who played on the field. And because they made life miserable for us in practice. I know for me, they knew what my weaknesses were, and they would throw moves on me in practice that I still in the NFL wouldn't stop. Fortunately, nobody figured it out, so nobody else tried it, but they knew it, right? And they made us better. And so that clock struck 0 and the crowd's cheering and everything feels like it's in slow motion and everything, the colors are just more vibrant. And it's like in a movie, except the feel, it's hard for me to describe the feeling, and I'm feeling it again now. But when we see each other, we'll dap each other up, we'll give each other hugs, and we'll look in each other's eyes. And once in a while, we'll get a little misty, depending on who we're talking to and the guys that are no longer with us. So we think about them and what they brought to our lives, not just our team, but our lives. And to win that national championship sort of was the bow on top of the forging of a brotherhood that can never be broken. And I'm so grateful to have been a part of that.
Trevor, I was lucky enough to witness that brotherhood and that camaraderie about 1.5 years ago when you and many of your teammates and coaches were celebrating the 40-year anniversary of that run to a 1984 national championship. And it included your position coach, Mel Olson, who I know adores you and you have a great relationship with him. But what was that like to get back in that building and sit in a round table and put together a BYU TV special with so many members of your team and staff and reliving some of your favorite stories from that
Well,
season?
Hema was a driving force behind that. Your producer here. And so Hema Hamuli, we're very grateful for him, the son of Lake Hamuli, who was a wrecking ball of a running back. And by the way, that's one of the things that I noticed. We'll talk about the guys in a minute, but watching the highlights of the season and of the Holiday Bowl especially, this is a Michigan defense that was largely intact from the defense that beat number 1 Miami earlier in the season, and I mean beat them. And Lakehe Muli was an unstoppable force. I mean, he would blast through the line. Defenders would bounce off of him. He would run over guys, and when they finally tackled him, they were on their back, and he was on top of them. It was amazing to me to see Lakehe Muli and the way that he was the most physical player on the field, probably in the Michigan game where we won the national championship. That event, though, where everybody came together for that anniversary, it was so much fun because there were so many things that either we forgot or we didn't know, right? Like I didn't know that Glenn Kozlowski, our great receiver and team captain, caught a critical late game pass to keep a touchdown drive going that allowed us to beat Wyoming. And I didn't know that Robbie Bosco wasn't sure if he should throw him the ball because he didn't know if he had it all together or not. That was before concussion protocols were what they were, and I'm sure the coaches didn't know what was going on, but Robbie did and Glenn did, and when the ball came in, he caught it, and we went on and we won the game. Things like that I didn't know about. And I hope I'm remembering that story correctly. I got to confirm that with Robbie or with Cos, but those kinds of things that and the thing is, we just hung around each other and hung around and hung around and hung around, and we never wanted to leave. And so we never wanted to leave, and I still don't. I miss those guys when I'm not with them, which is most of the time.
Trevor, you just were recently put into the BYU Athletic Hall of Fame. First of all, congratulations on that.
Thank you, Jimmer.
That is incredible. I'm fortunate enough to be in the Hall of Fame as well. It's an incredible night. But what did that mean specifically to you?
Jimmer, it was an unbelievable honor to be able to be associated with those folks that were inducted that night, and then folks like you that were inducted before. And when you get everybody in one room, some of my BYU sports heroes were there in that room, and it was amazing to see everybody put together. And really that tells you something about BYU as well, because it's not just the quality of the athlete, it's the quality of the human being, of the man and the woman that were there, and how BYU brought everybody together and created the environment where all of those folks could flourish in their own way in their own sport. And when I was notified by athletic director Brian Santiago, I was at the same time grateful and very humbled, and had a little trepidation, because I knew it was in part a representation of that 1984 team and the things that we had done. The 4 teams that I played on, I think we lost 3 games in 4 years, and and I played a part in that. I wasn't the only one to play a part in that, but I also thought of our offensive line, because I mentioned those guys. The way our scheme worked, our base scheme against the base 3-4 defense, we were all on an island. We all had to block alone. We didn't even know what slide protection was, for goodness sake. And so if you've got a 3-4, so both guards have a linebacker over them, the first thing that we would do is have both guards double read. So that means that he'd check the inside linebacker. If he didn't blitz, then he'd go outside to pick up the outside linebacker if he was blitzing. So both guards are doing that. What that does is it leaves a huge hole inside for those tackles to have to cover. So now both tackles have to cover not just the edge rusher around the corner, but have to make sure that if he comes inside, they slide in there and take him. And we did not switch off stunts. We got on different levels, and we followed our guy no matter where he went. So both tackles, if their guy looped all the way inside, they had to mirror him all the way in there. And Dave Wright and Lewis Long would stick and move, and defenses thought we couldn't get away with it. They thought it was unsound, but they couldn't beat it. And then the guards had to be in space doing all that stuff. And then the center was all by himself on an island too. And it was hilarious to watch things that defenses would do to try to stop that. Like one thing they would do is they'd run a little stunt where they'd take the defensive end and rush him inside, knowing that no offensive tackle can follow him all the way in there. And then they would loop the nose guard all the way around, knowing that no center could possibly mirror him all the way outside. And we get on different levels, and we just slide. The tackle would step him inside. I'd go outside, and it was really funny to see the look on those nose guards' face when they turned the corner and there's the center standing in front of them again, right? Well, these are things that we all did, right? And so we talk about the Hall of Fame. These are things that we all did. We all did it together. We did it because our coaches, Mel Olson, who was also an all-conference center at BYU, and Roger French, were masters at teaching us. We could get away with it when nobody else dared even try it because our technique was so amazing and the way we were prepared physically in things that, again, I didn't even realize why the coaches had us do certain things until years after I left. And so that offensive line as a unit was a choreographed, highly skilled, very hostile bunch of people. And what that did in that scheme is it allowed us to have an advantage over the defense because it allowed us to get an extra receiver out into the pass pattern that ordinarily might have had to stay in and block. 5 guys on the line accounted for as many as 7 potential rushers. So we had extra guys out into the pattern all the time and stressed the defense. So here I am receiving an honor in the BYU Hall of Fame, knowing that I had a career that was worthy of consideration, but also knowing that I was only part of a much bigger whole and everybody played a vital role in it.
Fantastic stuff from Trevor Matich of ESPN on From the Logo. I want to zoom out a little bit more as you look at your entire university experience, Trevor, not just with football. And I do this because recently Elder Jeffrey R. Holland of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints passed away. He was your university president and so instrumental in getting LaVell Edwards what he needed and getting that program and assisting the football team in unique ways off the field. So as you look back at his life and his presidency at BYU, what will you remember about the BYU president version of one of the great orators of our time, Jeffrey R. Holland?
My recollection of his presidency when I was there is very similar to LaVell Edwards, except there were so many more people he was basically mentoring. So he didn't have the relationships like a coach will have a relationship with players, but it was the same kind of a thing because I was very aware of him. I was very aware of who he was and how he was. I was very aware when he spoke of what it meant. And it was interesting because it's almost like, you watch your favorite show, right? And TV show, and you see your favorite character and they've been on that show for 20 years and you feel like you know them, but they don't know you. They don't even know who you are. Right. Well, in a lot of ways, it was that way with Elder Holland because he, we didn't know him personally. We couldn't, I met him a couple of times, but, from a standpoint of the student body in general, but he influenced us and we felt like we knew him and he had that kind of a presence. He was like LaVell Edwards writ large.
That's great. I want to transition to a little bit about your, broadcasting career. Right now you're at ESPN. You've been at ESPN for a long time. And was that always the goal? Like, did you want to end up at being a broadcaster at ESPN? And on top of that, I need a great story from ESPN with one of your colleagues of just something that is just funny or something that happened that you just like, I remember this and it was a great time. I'm having a blast at ESPN.
That's pretty much every day. Let me think about that while I'm talking. But as far as I've been there. I think I'm over 20 years there. I mean, I think I've been there for 18 or something. I'm not sure. We have to go back and count. But it wasn't really the goal. It was just all I could do. I mean, what else would I do? I don't know what to do. My 12th and final year in the NFL was with Washington, right? Now the Commanders. And I was doing some things, TV stuff and radio stuff, as people will do, just go on once a week and do a little hit and stuff like that. And then Fox came out and they were doing one of our games and somebody said, well, you should interview Trevor. Well, Okay, so they interviewed me for some reason, and I made them laugh, and they thought it was fun. And then I retired. Right, that was my last season, and at least I thought it was going to be. Well, I ended up retiring. Anyway, my contract was up. And so I'm trying to get this sequence in my mind now. I got hit in the head for a living for 12 years. And so, that's my excuse for all this stuff. But what ended up happening was after that season, I got a call from Fox and they said, your contract's up. You want to come over and broadcast? And I'm like, I think so, but I don't know if I want to retire from football yet. I said, well, you think about it because this is a great opportunity. And I'm like, so I talked to all kinds of broadcasters and everyone but one said, when the doors open, you got to go through it. And I know that at the end of my career, I kind of knew it was coming to a close. And my final season in Washington, I spent extra time just kind of looking at the guys and seeing what they do. And I'd go out early for pregame and just take in the environment at the stadium and stay out a little bit later and linger until I went back into the locker room, things like that, because it just felt like it was winding down. And then, um, the team did an awful dastardly thing. They offered me a guaranteed contract to stay and play for another year, and I'm like, "Really?" Because Fox was about to announce me as their new, NFL analyst, and so I thought, "Well, now what do you do? How do you turn down a guaranteed year in the NFL?" And so I prayed and prayed. Yeah, no, it was a great dilemma to have. It was just I wish this dilemma on anybody, and, so I prayed about it, and then I wrote an email and it was like 15 email pages long. And at the end of it, I laid out the reasons that I was going to go ahead and take the Fox offer. And the last sentence was, I prayed to know if this was the right decision. And I just wrote this. Is that an answer? Right. And so I left football, went into broadcasting and started at Fox and did a bunch of other stuff and ended up at ESPN about 20 years ago. And now here we are. Um, And when you think about, things that have happened there hasn't been any like cataclysmic, breakdown where everything hit the fan or anything like that. But we just had a lot of fun. I mean, just a lot of really good times. And ESPN has been really great about allowing me to think outside the box and do things that are creative. Right. And sometimes we don't do them in a show, but very often we will. And like, there was a time when I did and don't tell anybody this because I want to do this again down the road. But there was a time when, I'm a big old offensive line guy, and we were covering a team that had a little tiny fire plug of a running back that nobody could stop. And so what I did was I was standing up, looking at the camera, introducing the breakdown tape. They rolled the tape, and I broke down the tape while the host got in behind me and stood with his legs behind my legs. And he was tiny compared to me. And so they came back to me and I said, all right, now the camera's right in front. The host is behind me, but nobody can see him. I said, okay, now pointed at the camera. You are the defense. I'm the offensive lineman. Here's your problem. Where's this running back? And then the host stepped out, right? And it was like, whoa, where'd that come from? Well, that's not a big, massive thing, but it's one of those little things that's different from what you normally see. And we're going to do this again next time we have an opportunity, I'm sure. But those are the kinds of things that I remember is just the fun things that we're able to do that are creative, that aren't done very often, but that ESPN has been so great at allowing me to do. And the M&M breakdown is just an example of that. It's not a massive moment in television history, but you know what? It's fun, it's different, it's memorable. And that's been my experience at ESPN.
Trevor, we need to give a shout out to your beautiful wife, Dana. Always love seeing you together and the love that you two share for each other. And it was awesome to watch her accept. You had to work back at ESPN the Saturday that you were honored at LaVell Edwards Stadium during a college football game when you were a part of the Hall of Fame. So your wife, Dana, was there to accept that portion following the Friday night where you spoke at the banquet. But she's fabulous. I know she's a huge part of your work-life balance. That includes faith, family, and football. So how have you been able to walk that path of faith, family, and football in a very successful, busy career?
Well, can I take a minute to brag about Dana just for a minute? Because she probably she wouldn't want me to do this. And, this is just a proud husband. So please accept it that way. I mean, the things that I'm about to tell you about Dana, we don't talk about really that much unless people ask us. But that's why people just don't know these things about her. And you don't have to have done the things that she's done to be awesome and to be worthy and to be great. But she's the talented one in our marriage. She is the accomplished one in our marriage. She is an artist with work in museums all around the country. And I mean, not just galleries, museums. She is an amazing, talented artist. She is a former Mrs. Georgia and Mrs. America. And Mattel made a Barbie after her, right? She's the only pageant winner that we're aware of that Mattel made a Barbie of. Now, that's not somebody that took a Barbie and dressed it up like her. They made a Barbie of her, actually two of them. And one of them is still one of the most popular and coveted collectible Barbies among Barbie collectors. All these celebrities, the few that have them, that they can find them, she autographs them and stuff like that for them. She had her own radio show, co-host of a radio show in Nashville for years. She was host of a TV show in Atlanta about philanthropy for a long time. She's received statewide awards in Georgia for philanthropy. She's gone on archaeological digs with the Ministry of Antiquities of Egypt. She has done things in countries that nobody's supposed to know that she's done, because nobody's supposed to know that she's done that. Nobody's supposed to do them, but people with access have said, "Come over here, don't tell anybody," and here we go. And I wish I could tell you some of those things. The thing is, the movie Forrest Gump, right, where he was just involved in everything, everywhere. She was in Israel, sitting right down the row from the Israeli prime minister when a terrorist bomb went off. Right. And so there's just all kinds of things that she's been associated with and involved with, either just adjacent to it or as an integral part of it. And I look at her and I go, you know what? I way outkicked my coverage. And she has the most beautiful soul and the most beautiful spirit. And that's the thing about her that's great. I mean, she would probably be embarrassed that I told you all these things, and she would never just pipe up and say them ever. But my wife is an amazing human being and one of God's elect spirits. And so I just want to say that, not as a comparison to accomplishment. You don't have to have done those things in order to be great, right? But she's amazing. So I'm sorry, what was the other part of the question? I forgot. I was thinking about
it doesn't
Dana,
matter.
It doesn't matter.
We need to be talking to her. We need to be talking.
Yeah, you should.
What is going on
You
here?
should. She's
Trevor,
incredible.
you're a slacker,
Yeah.
man. What have you done with yourself,
know,
man?
I
Goodness gracious.
My only skill in life is to run into large men named Bubba and knock them down. That's it, right? She's incredible. And again, it comes back to her spirit, though. She's one of those people. She's an evil detector. I will tell you that, because people that know her or are just sort of neutral, don't know her well, are either neutral to her or more likely they love her. The people that don't love her almost always are really, truly evil people. Sorry, you know who you are. And so that's the thing. She's so good. It's like, the light and what it does to people that are not used to dwelling in the light. She's got that light of a spirit. I'm going to cry now. I love my wife.
That's so great, Trevor. I absolutely love that. And we all love, our significant others. We talk about our significant others here, Whitney, Brittany, on the podcast as well. They're just unbelievable people. And it's so great to always give, a shout out to our better halves for sure. And it sounds like that's the case with you, obviously, Trevor. We got to finish this podcast with a little bit of football. Okay. Like, we really do. I know we've been talking some football about yourself, but college playoff is going on here, and I need to hear your take. Who's the favorite? Who's going to win it, and why?
You know what? When you look at the two semifinals, one of them, it's all Big Ten. It's Indiana and Oregon. The other side, it's Miami and Ole Miss. And by the way, only one of those four teams in the Final Four won their conference. That's Indiana. The rest of them didn't even play in their conference championship game. So you look at the way this turned out. And when I think if you look at the Indiana-Oregon game, they played in the regular season, and Indiana beat them 30-20. Oregon's offense only scored one touchdown. The other touchdown was a pick six by the Ducks defense. And Oregon's running attack, they only gained 81 yards on the ground. They averaged over 200. It was in part because of a lot of tackles for loss, a lot of sacks by the Indiana defense. And so how does Oregon move the ball better against these guys this time around? And what they'll need to do, I think, Oregon, is go to their mismatches, and that's their tight ends. They've got two fantastic tight ends that are both go around 250 pounds that have the skills of wide receivers. Those guys combined for 3 catches in the first game with that. They combined for 8 catches against Texas Tech's great defense. It's one of the reasons they won that game. I think you'll see tight ends for Oregon be a big part of this, but I don't think it'll be enough. Because when we think of Indiana, we think of the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback throwing the wide receivers who will be in the NFL next year. But this is one of the best running teams in the nation. I mean, Indiana gained over 300 yards rushing in 6 games this year. It's just incredible what they do on the ground. Their defense is one of the best in the country, and I think that they will advance and beat Oregon. For the other semifinal, like Miami, has the edge over Ole Miss, although it'll be incredible to watch Trinidad Chambliss, the Ole Miss quarterback, play against the Miami defense. Chambliss against Georgia in the playoff game was fearless. I mean, fearless. This guy was in Division II last year at Ferris State, transferred, thought he'd be a backup in the SEC, turns into a starter in the playoff, 1 game away from the national championship game. And the thing is, when he saw things open up, he would fire that ball with no hesitation at all into tight windows. The problem against Miami is that they have a better pass rush than Georgia, and their secondary is better. So it's another escalation for Chambliss to be able to handle. I think Miami has the edge. And then when you talk about who's going to win it all, I think Indiana's balance is too much. And you've got the team that a couple of years ago was the losingest program in college football history now has a chance to win a national championship. And I think it's just absolutely ridiculous. And what they've done it the right way. They've done it the right way. And I'm happy for them. Now, will they win it? I don't know. I just think that they have the edge to get there.
To your point, Trevor, it is a fascinating Cinderella story of a build for Indiana. And they feel in many ways, even though they're number 1 in the country, like the darling of college football. We appreciate the breakdown. I have one final question, and this is a loaded one, and I know you have some opinions on it. And frankly, I value your opinion in this matter more than most because you're so connected here. But what is the perfect college football playoff format moving forward if there need to be changes made?
The perfect format. I would love to see a second round of home games. I mean, the home games last year and this year were unbelievable. Last year, the first college football home game in FBS history was at Notre Dame. And it's a playoff game, right? Alabama goes to Oklahoma and beats Oklahoma. Just incredible stuff. And I would like to see a second round. To do that, they would probably have to expand it to 16. And I think a lot of people would like to see that anyway. I think it would probably be a good idea after what happened this year to go from 5 automatic bids, maybe to 4 for conference champions. Notre Dame was so mad. BYU fans were so mad at being left out, even though they were number 11 or number 12, even though the format as it exists honors conference championships. And I think that's important. I think we should not go down the path of the NFL where nobody cares if you won the division. It's just you get in, and off you go. Well, conference championship races are critical in college football, and only one team's going to win the national championship. Everyone else is either going to end with a loss in the playoff, or they're going to end hopefully with a bowl game if they're good enough to make a bowl game. And the winners are bowl champions. Conference champions that don't make the playoff are conference champions, really all of them. They're going to put a trophy in the case and hang a banner in the building, and those things are important. But I think if they went to 16 teams, it would solve most of the problems of having, BYU left out, Notre Dame left out. And if that would also let them have an extra round of home games. I think we still have to honor the bowls in the playoff. And so that's why I think expanding it for an extra round, I think would do that. When you talk about Cinderella though, it used to be before NIL that Cinderella was for princesses with glass slippers and basketball, right? Because you know this better than I, Jimmer, that, if you've got 2 stellar 3-point shooters, a guy that can score in the paint, and a bunch of scrappy juniors and seniors that can play scrappy defense, you have a chance to be a Cinderella in basketball, but in football, if you don't have big guys in depth that can run on both sides of the line, you're not going to get very far in the playoff. But NIL has spread that talent around. So it gives us an opportunity for some of those lower seeded teams to be able to get in. So that's what I think. That's what I think should happen. Now, will it? We'll see. Right now, there's more heat than light, but we'll see what happens going forward.
Fingers crossed. Outstanding stuff from Trevor Matich, who, by the way, does more than just knock guys named Bubba around well. He is the Eminem college football savant. And Trevor, we thank you for being with us on From the Logo. Love the big picture conversation about faith and family and so many other things. And one more shout out to your wife, Dana. Please send her our best. Be well. We can't wait to watch you again. By the way, when will we see you next? We need to tell everyone when can they see you next?
I'll be on Sports Center tonight, and then from there on, I'll be doing a lot of Sports Center hits and stuff like that over the rest of the college football season. Can I just say one more thing?
Please do.
Because you said something that, I just, you talk about, football and what that means in life. When it was time for me to decide to go on a mission, and I want to say this, and I appreciate you giving me the moment. It was after my sophomore season at BYU. I had 2 years on the varsity. We had won 2 conference championships, been to 2 Holiday Bowls, and now I was going to leave and go on a mission out of the country. I went to Mexico. A lot of people thought I was nuts, but what I was thinking was, football's great, but one day football's going to end. And where would I be on that day if I based my entire life on football? So I went on my mission knowing that I might not ever play again, but knowing that even if I didn't, the most important thing would be taken care of and it would be okay. So I wanted to say that. And I also just want to say this in closing, that Jimmer, Spencer, we get to talk once a week during the football season, and it's great. Jimmer, you and I actually met when you were playing at BYU. You won't remember this probably, but it was at the Richards building. You guys were practicing, and I went in there and coach stopped practice. And he said, "Trevor, I want you to meet Jimmer." And you came over and we talked just for a minute, and I'm like, this is incredible. This is Jimmer Fredette. And so it's a real thrill for me to be able to talk with you today as well.
Well, it's been so great to chat with you today, Trevor. You're absolutely a legend. And I do remember that back at the Richards building, which is incredible. That's where we were practicing when you see the practice facility that they have now over at BYU. But that was what it was back in the day. And it wasn't even that long ago. But no, we appreciate you jumping on today. It's incredible to chat with you. I'll be watching you on SportsCenter. I always do. I'll watch you tonight, tomorrow night, the next night. I know they have you working a lot over there. So thanks for being on with us. And we appreciate you.
Thanks, Jimmer. Thanks, Spencer.
You got it. The great Trevor Matich never disappoints. We'll call a timeout now. When we return, Jimmer and I take on the listener questions that all of you have submitted in Open Gym. From the Logo continues after this.
If you or your business are looking to reach a wide audience, From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette will help you reach your goals. Whether you're interested in title sponsorship, segment sponsorship, or product placement on the podcast, email us at jimmerftl@gmail.com and let us help you shoot your shot.
This is From the Logo, and we now open things up to our listeners and viewers with your submitted questions straight from social media to us. And our first comment comes in from one of your former beloved teammates, Jimmer, the great Chris Collinsworth. In fact, I'm going to let you read what Chris sent in response to a few throwback stories that were shared by another of your teammates, Jonathan Tavernari.
Yeah, JT's had some great stories that last pod. Well, my guy Chris Collinsworth, who is from Provo, who was on my visit, like one of my best friends, still work together today. He's just an incredible human being. But we had some good times back then. Let's just put it that way. And he wrote, after JT was telling us a story about trying to get me to go out. He said, then we went and got some Tomasito's Pizza, which is a great little spot back in the day. I don't even think it's there anymore. With the crew and played some car football in the dorms parking lot. Ha. Yes, car football. Okay. Well, he used to have this box car. Okay. Like, I don't even remember what the thing was called, but it literally looked like a box.
Oh, was it one of those Scions? The Scion XB or whatever it was?
Whatever it was. I don't know.
Block. Yeah.
It was literally a block, and that thing got beat up. But we would get into that block, and then his friend had like an open Jeep. right? And we would go, it would be like 12, 1 in the morning, right? We were hoodlums back then.
Yeah, this sounds totally safe. Totally legal, totally safe.
Absolutely. We go to a parking lot at BYU. We grab a football, and we would just huck it for back and forth from one car to the next and try to see if we could catch that football, see how good our accuracy was, see how good our hands were. It was not safe. I do not recommend it. Please, no one out there do this. Could break some windows, could do some, some damage. Obviously, the person that was driving was not catching or throwing the football. Okay, that was the
thank goodness.
That was an important part of this thing, right? It was the back seats, and we were throwing it to each other. We were having a blast of doing that. That's what I was doing most of the time and nights on my freshman year, and that's why I love BYU, and that's why I would have transferred. This car football.
There you go. Now, as a follow-up, okay, we get this from SV Utility 1 on YouTube, who, in response to you deciding to stay in and not go out with Jonathan Tavernari, as he explained in one of these stories, though he was pleading for you, you're like, nah, I'm good. I'm staying in. And SV Utility says, quote, "This story makes me love Jimmer even more. That's baller." You were shutting down your teammates when they were trying to pull you out the door.
Yeah, JT, that was early in my freshman year. He was trying to get me to come out, go to some type of party or hang out, whatever they were doing. I don't even know what JT was doing back in the day. And I was like, that's not my cup of tea. I'm kind of just going to chill tonight, just going to hang out. And I would literally just sit in my room and I go for a walk. I put some headphones in. I kind of do my thing. I go to bed kind of early, do those different things. Unless I was playing card football, obviously. That was about the extent of my really crazy adventurous going out during those nights. Most of the time I'm just hanging out at the dorm, and that continued to go throughout my NBA career. I mean, I didn't go out in my NBA career, and let's tell you, it wasn't because people were lacking of trying to get me to go out in my NBA career. I thought they were going to actually put me in like a straitjacket one of these days and just like throw me in the back of a taxi, like, you're coming out with us tonight.
We're
going to
doing this. I'm not going to pretend like I didn't do stupid stuff when I was around that age. In fact, you talking about playing car football, and I'm sure, was this like it was an open parking lot? Is that where this was happening?
At night. It's just an open parking lot, and like no one's in the, the parking lots at 12, 1 in the morning. So we weren't harming anybody, obviously. It was just, fun time.
Oh, the Provo police. Can you imagine the report that comes in? They were throwing a football between vehicles, sir.
Is that illegal?
Whatever.
I don't know. Has anyone told me that? I was going the speed limit. I don't know.
Yeah. You're within the bounds of the speed limit.
Yes, we were on the right side of the road. Goodness.
So the dumb things we do, as 17 and 18-year-olds, if not a little bit older, but I have a very keen memory of going to a secondhand store. I think it might have been Savers when I was a senior in high school, buying an old bowling ball, and then somebody had the thought, what if we drove in the high school parking lot and threw this bowling ball out the window and it hit a curb? Like, what would happen? How fast can we go? Jimmer, what are we doing? What are we thinking? Okay,
Spence, that's
what
way
could
worse
possibly
than mine.
go wrong?
That's way worse than mine.
Right?
Come on, a
So,
bowling ball?
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen with my own two eyes, Jimmer. Okay, we got going, I don't know, maybe 75 miles an hour in the Northridge High School parking lot. So stupid. And I'm holding this bowling ball outside the passenger window, chuck it out there, and then you veer off and you watch it hit the curb. I'm not kidding you. It hit the curb, bounced like 30 yards in the air, came down, and broke into two perfect halves.
Wow. That was it. Didn't grow into crumbles. It just went into halves.
These are the things that we did before we had,
Cell phones?
iPhones.
Yeah, exactly.
So what's worse?
Yeah.
I
That's
don't
a good
know
question. What is worse?
What's worse?
I don't know.
Playing car football or throwing bowling balls outside of the window and splitting them into two? I don't know.
Risking your life or scrolling on Instagram? What's worse? I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. These are the serious questions we ask, folks. If you would like to submit those questions to me or Jimmer or any of our guests in response to things they say, go to @JimmerFTL on all the major social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok. Oh yeah, we're doing the TikTok thing as well. And you can always send in the hashtag OpenGymFTL as well. Jimmer, I'm glad you're alive after car football. Can I just say that?
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
Won't try it again. I'm telling everybody, don't try it.
Just don't
play
do car football.
Don't do it.
The 3x3 update is next. GM Jimmer gives us the latest on the drive to gold in 2028 in the Olympics when From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette continues.
If you or your business are looking to reach a wide audience, From the Logo with Jimmer Fredette will help you reach your goals. Whether you're interested in title sponsorship, segment sponsorship, or product placement on the podcast, email us at jimmerftl@gmail.com and let us help you shoot your shot.
From the Logo moves into the final quarter. Put the 4 fingers up. Let's go.
Still, baby.
Fourth quarter.
Let's go.
With our USA Basketball 3x3 update. Presented by our friends at Wilner and O'Reilly. You can just call Kelly at Wilner and O'Reilly, an immigration law expert and good friend of the program. WilnerO'Reilly.com. GM Jimmer is ready to roll on the drive to gold in 2028. The latest on his 3x3 teams across the globe, plus your weekly insight into one of the fastest growing Olympic sports. Jimmer, where does the 3x3 conversation begin this week?
We have had some real great luck on getting people to come play 3x3 next year for Team USA, which I'm excited about. We're gonna have 2 teams on tour next year, which we haven't had for USA basketball full time. It's been just one, so now we're gonna have 2 full-time teams, which I'm pumped about.
Awesome.
And it's been going really, really well. So I'm excited about that. We'll keep you posted when guys sign official contracts. Then I can come and tell you exactly, who those guys are. But we're excited about it. As far as the rule today, we're going to talk a little bit about the free throw. Okay. So it's interesting because, anytime you play basketball anywhere, when you shoot free throws afterwards, like the other team takes the ball out of bounds, you chuck it up, you do whatever you do. Not in 3x3. 3x3, it is live off of that free throw. So whether you have 1 free throw or you have 2 free throws, the next one, it is live off of it. So you got to make sure you box out and rebound, and you can get an offensive rebound. You can go score, all that, or you can get it and you have to clear the ball and get back into it. So the interesting thing is that the lineup, you have to make sure that you are always with a guy on the offensive team, right? Or sorry, on the defensive team at that point, right? Like they're rebounding the ball, because a lot of times the guys will go out and they'll actually stand outside of the free throw line. They won't come in and help rebound. Now, if you don't put a guy out there with that person at the 3-point line, as soon as they get that rebound, they could throw it out to that guy and catch it and shoot it, right? So you have to be like disciplined, and they run sets off of free throw line, off the free throw line. So they have a bunch of different plays that they do. If this guy catches it, another guy will come, set a flare screen off of it. They'll throw it out to him for a 3. So you have to be super high alert on these free throws so that you're not setting up an easy basket for the other team. So that's one thing that it took me a little bit of time, because the first time I played, I didn't go out with the guy because of it. And my teammates were like, oh, you got to go out. But it was already into the, he already had the ball and he was into the shoe. I couldn't actually get out there with him. And as soon as that happened, the guy sprinted to the corner and I couldn't get there. No one could get there. So they threw it right to him, catch and shoot 2, bucket. And then you're on to, the next thing. So that 3 free throw is live right off of it. It's an interesting rule, but there's a lot of different wrinkles you can do off of it. It's pretty fun to watch.
What was your career free throw percentage, Jimmer, at BYU?
Ooh, I was close to 90. I was
Let's
really
go.
close to 90. If I wasn't at 90, I was really close to 90. And my whole career, I think the best I ever shot in a season was in China. I think I shot like 95 or 96%.
And you were shooting a billion free throws in China.
I shot a lot of free throws in China. Yes, I shot a lot of free throws. Those rims were good. Those rims were good.
That's impressive. 95% in China,
Yeah.
where you were shooting so many free throws. I have respect for that too, man. We start with the push to run a half marathon, and then we finish with shooting 95% from the free throw line in China. My man.
Listen, Spence. I used to make 100 free throws in a row before I left the gym on certain days. Not 100 free throws total. 100 free throws in a row before I left.
Okay.
And that could take a long time. Let me tell you something, but I shot a lot of free throws in my day. So all the kids out there, when you're talking about shooting free throws, muscle memory is key. You have to shoot a ton of them to feel comfortable. And
wow,
that's how you
100
gotta
in
do
a
it.
row. You can't
row.
leave until you make 100 in a row.
In a row. It took me a couple hours sometimes.
That is nuts. I remember getting frustrated. I try and do I was never that extreme. I try and do maybe make 20 in a row, and you get to 18 and then have one roll off, and just the frustration that
so
takes
mad.
over your body.
So mad.
I can't imagine you getting into the 90s and then you doink on 93. It's oh
What
my
happened?
gosh.
It happened. Okay. It's happened. Okay. I'll just tell you that much. I didn't do it every single day, but there are some days where I was like, you know what? I am making 100 free throws in a row, and this is why we're doing it.
Oh,
so there you
man. Love that story to finish. Happy New Year to you, man. Can't
You as
wait
well,
for big
Spence.
things in 2026. Any final thoughts before we say goodbye?
No, this was great. This was so much fun. Thanks to Trevor for getting on. We're excited about 2026. We appreciate you all for listening and dealing with our shenanigans and all the stuff that we talk about. We talk about some crazy stuff, but we also talk some really good stuff. So thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.
A reminder to shoot your shot in life. We'll see you on From the Logo next time.